Welcome to Arsenal Above All. Uh, Normally, when like London buses, you normally wait around for a London bus and two coming up at the same time. So what I tried to do today was have a two Jameses on, Daniel James and James Johnson, and only one of them's turned up tonight. Maybe turned up a little bit late, the other one. But anyway, we're going to crack on. We've got obviously James tonight with me to discuss everything Arsenal, the win against Brentford, tough win yesterday, and lots more. But before all of that, let's get into it. How you doing, man? Did that come out all right to you, or was it all jerky?
No, it was fantastic. I was getting into the song, Mike. The head was going a bit.
Oh, that's sorry, mate. Look, that was weird. That was coming out weird on my end, but I don't know what that is. So I have paid for the internet and everything. I'm not taking it off next door's, not my neighbour's one, stuff like that. But welcome to the show. Hello to the man that's got more Arsenal riz then you can shake a stick at. So he will now be known as, obviously, without saying, the Rizzer, James Johnson. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, after an intro like that, I'm fantastic. And how can you complain when you're top of the league? I know some do, but obviously we're not in that camp, Mike. So we're all good.
Yeah, seen some absolute clowns, or you probably saw that kind of footage that's gone around of some clowns looking like it's Christmas morning and there's no presents. It looks like for most of them. Sad cases, but hey, it is what it is. Everyone's got their agendas and want to be proved right, regardless of for the benefit of the team when getting a result. So less said about them, the better. Thanks for coming, James. Thanks for joining me on the back of an international break. Obviously, we beat Burnley 3-1 just before that, and the usual situation. Not watching these boring games, but keeping the fingers crossed. Hopefully, our boys come back sharp and fit first and foremost, and they did pretty much. And then we went to Brentford for the Saturday evening game, and it was a tough watch. Brentford are a very awkward side to play against. A very well-run club. You've got to give them respect. They're a really, really well-run club. From top to bottom. Maybe other clubs could take notice of that, or what's happened in the last week or so. Take notice of that. But a brilliantly run club, very awkward side to play against, and we've inflicted two of their last three defeats in the Premier League since they've come up, I should say. So let's get into it, James. We've got the lineup. We'll start as usual. I missed the first couple of minutes of the first half. I was at a Christmas parade with my little girl and my family.
Hey, priorities, mate. So it's all good.
So I was freezing my nuts off. But then I saw the lineup. I thought, wow, he's going for it. This is real. He's gone for a proper attacking front five, and with Trossard playing on the left 8, and that's something that I think you've mentioned. Jack Neil, you mentioned we would like to see him in that position with Havertz kind of being a bit of a sticky situation. But what was your thoughts on that lineup, man, and just how it kind of transpired? Because it seemed like Brentford have got a bit of a record or knack of playing with a back three when they play against some of the big sides. And I think maybe that's what went into Arteta's thinking, why he played that extra person, to unlock doors, maybe, and create creatively, rather than having Jorginho in there with Rice, so we could maybe just go with one. But what was your thoughts on that lineup and just how that first half sort of played out?
Yeah, so obviously I put the team up the night before like I normally do, except for when I think it's a given, because I'm like, there's nothing, there's no point putting the team up if we're all going to agree on it, because then there's nothing to discuss. But I was shocked in a way that Jesus was starting. I didn't think that he would start this, but I did believe Tomiyasu would, because White, I got told on the Friday, was still had a knock, so I didn't believe that he would start. But had no problem with it. Like you said, I thought, okay, Odegaard's back, brilliant. This is the most attacking team that we could really, with the players at our disposal. I thought this was the best attacking team that we could put out. I think it's only the second time this season that it's his preferred front four of Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, and Jesus. I don't think we've met. I think it's only twice we've managed to do that. So I was like, right, let's go. Even though I still dislike this kit with a massive passion, Mike, I think it's one of the most hideous kits that we've had under the Adidas umbrella. But still, it could become something like we said before. A lot of people didn't like the bruised banana at first, and then it got a cult following. So I don't know if this will catch on. I don't think in 20 years' time, when I'm sat here in my late 40s, that my kids will be buying me a replica of this, or they'll be asking for a replica. Oh, Dad, can we have the 22, 23 Arsenal? Like, no, you can't. I hated it then and I hate it now. No, you're not having it. Yeah, God knows what kit, with the rise of inflation, God knows how much kits will cost in those 20 years' time as well. They're expensive now, aren't they? So yeah. But no, back on topic. Sorry. Yeah, I was very, very excited. But what I will say, I really liked Arteta's comments post game, in that he was impressed with how we played in those circumstances, and that, especially in the second half, I 100% agree with him, because beforehand, when I did my predictions, I got carried away and thought, no, we'll have everybody back. So I said 3-1. I think I predicted again. I think I said we'll do another 3-1, and they did a number, especially with that back three, like you said, of keeping Saka and Martinelli so wide, because they're like, we know what happens when they chop in, so just push them. Bit like what Newcastle did to us. Just keep them way, way, way out there and don't let them into there. And I think to get that point in the way that we did, and obviously we'll touch on it later, the player that got us the win, I thought it was massive. And it's one of them where we'll look back on it, I think, in the next couple of weeks and go, that was a bloody good 3 points, because they'll scalp big teams that are rivals to us in our race, either home or away. Brentford. People forget they did the double over the treble winners last season. Beat them home and away. Man City, so they know what they're doing, even with the lack of players that they've got. I mean, the chances that we restrict them to, I've only watched the full game the once, but I've watched the highlights, obviously, because I've been in demand today. I've had a lot of people asking me to come on, so I appreciate it. But the chances that they had were all self-inflicted from us. They're all our mistake. 100%. It wasn't, again, I don't want to dismiss them, but it wasn't any overall individual quality from them that done us. No. It wasn't like Garnacho's goal today for United. It weren't a worldie where you just have to go, oh Christ, look at it. It was all self-inflicted stuff. So if we eradicated them mistakes and still won the 1-0, I'd be going, it's an even better performance than what I think, given the balance of it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously the main talking point, obviously we knew Ramsdale would come back into the side. He looked rusty, didn't he? He looked a bit shaky, understandably nervous, and then obviously they had that situation, which is obviously one of the chances we're talking about. You can't obviously with all the stuff that's happened with his dad and what he said and everything else, you can't help but feel sorry for him in that situation. Obviously, he was the top of the world. He was getting these awards. Best keeper. London keeper. London. I think Evening Standard Awards or whatever it was, and he got nominated for the Yashin Award as well. Top of the world, 5-year. New 5-year deal. Just had a kid as well. On top of the world, and then obviously everything's sort of turned. Gone to 180 for him. For me, well, we can skip on to that because obviously we know the game. We're not going to go into it too detailed because it wasn't that great a game. But for me, the most poignant thing for me was the end of the game, where he has the last significant, whether you want to call it symmetry, whatever, the last touch of the game with the ball is Aaron Ramsdale, and that could be the last time he touches the ball as an Arsenal player. Because for me, the way that the players reacted to him after that. It wasn't for me. I was looking at it thinking, yeah, okay, it's because he saved. He's got a clean sheet and everything. But for me, it was almost like, these guys are, saying goodbye to him. That should look almost as if Daniel's joined us. Almost as if it was like, it's almost a guard of honor. Almost the way they were going up to him, and everyone was giving him proper hugs and everything. It wasn't a high five, whatever. It was proper. People going in for proper hugs with him. Do you think, do you think I was like, so we chuck up the first question. The Ramsdale farewell. Did the scenes at full time seem more than just congratulating him for a clean sheet? Or were the players saying, well done, thanks, and best of luck for the future? What did you think, James? Obviously, and then you can obviously touch on, obviously, the hubbaloo, whatever you would have called it, with his dad.
Yeah.
Dad's famous interview.
I think you've summed it up there. I think it's the latter. As much as I like him as a person, football is a cutthroat game. It's a cutthroat business, and when you do get picked, you need to show out. And this isn't just for goalkeepers. This is for every position on the pitch. And I know it's harder for goalkeepers, but as much as I can go and say what I've said previously about Havertz, he come on and done his job and got us 3 points yesterday. There was nothing that Aaron Ramsdale did yesterday, to me, and I know other people might have other opinions, and I'm not saying that I'm correct and you're all wrong, but he didn't do anything to me that made me feel that David Raya won't be in goal on Tuesday or Saturday. And that's the big... Yeah. And again, when he played against West Ham, okay, 2 of the other goals, I don't blame him for, but the one where it went through his hands and everything, I do think that was a mistake on his part. So again, that's another game where he had a chance and he squandered it. And sadly, I do feel that is the end for him, because as much as I maybe don't think that he's good enough to be number one for Arsenal at this present moment in time, I do believe he's good enough to be a number one goalkeeper for a majority of this team's in. There's only 2, maybe 3 sides in this league that I don't see where he can be a number one goalkeeper, and that's us, City, Liverpool. You could argue them lot down the road, but I'm not Vicario's biggest fan, but I can see why some would say no, I'd rather have him than. And what shocks me the most, Mike, is when this happened, I thought that this would boost this guy and raise his level to a level that's even better than I think he is at now. And sadly, he has regressed, because he's a tough character. This is a guy that last season, a bloke jumped over the barrier and smacked him in the back of the head. So this is we know this is a tough guy. Even in his personal life, I don't want to touch on obviously what happened. It was very, very, it's incredibly, incredibly sad what happened to him. And thank God, they've had another child since and everything else like that. So we know that this is a guy that's got a huge strength of character, but dropping him, and whether it was right or wrong in your opinion, like you said, it has done a complete number on him, and he hasn't recovered from it. And I don't believe he is going to recover from it. And also, I think some of the other behaviour, not just his dad appearing on that podcast, I think the post on Instagram and Twitter and what have you after the England game that he didn't even contribute in was planned as if to be like, look how important England is. Because even if he goes to Germany for the Euros, I don't think he plays a game unless obviously we've secured the group and he'll play in the last one. I think they'll give him the last one because he is. But then again, Pope seems like he's more of the number 2 than he is at the moment. So will he even get that? Exactly. Exactly. So I don't think he's completely absolved of blame himself. I think that there's things from his own team or maybe himself and the others around him that have contributed to this pile on. But I do agree with what you've put there at the end, that I think a lot of them were like, thank you very, very much. And he knew it. His face said it as well, I think. The body language indicated that. I think that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think? How are you doing, Daniel? Daniel will get his fine in the post.
Late training, man.
Yeah, he'll get his fine. And No, get his subs off him. Nice early. But what do you think, bro, about that? About the Ramsdale situation? Obviously, it just seems to be something following around. Obviously, he had that clip, as James mentioned, when he had the interview with Ian Wright, and I forgot the rapper's name. Is it Bugsy?
Bugsy Malone.
Bugsy, yeah. And then there was another clip that someone sent me where it was a skit. I think it was a comedy thing where he's having a curry or he's having some poppadoms and stuff like that. It's just a really random sort of weird thing. But obviously, and obviously, yeah, his dad's chat. What do you think of yesterday? Do you think that's it for him? Do you think he plays on Wednesday or possibly PSV? Which if we secure that, I think Arteta has to completely rotate. He's people like Saka and stuff shouldn't even have to get their passport out for that game. You should be just staying at home. What do you think? What do you think about yesterday and his performance?
Yeah.
And is that it for him?
Yeah, I think, in addition to what you guys have said with regards to kind of the players saying, well done and maybe, sayonara, I also think it was like a massive relief for him and for the defenders, because I honestly believe that he gives them nervous energy. So getting to the end of that game was a massive relief as well. So everyone was happy that we got through it. He made a couple of errors. He almost flunked it when he threw the ball out to them, and the other error as well that he made. We could have easily lost that due to individual errors from Rambo. It is a shame the way he was dropped, but I know we've all had our say on it. But at the end of the day, Arteta and Inaki and all the other coaches, they see what goes on every day on the field. It would have been just a random decision. They would have seen from last year and the year before the signs that they were probably looking for, which has led them to sign Raya. Raya hasn't been solid by all means, but having a look at some of the stats, we can understand why the change has been made. A lot of the kicking stats and stuff like that, and dealing with the ball at feet, stuff like that, is much better than Ramsdale. But do I feel sorry for him? Yes, I do, because of the way, I guess, he was kind of unceremoniously just kind of dropped, really. But I think, Mikey, you and I have been speaking a lot in the last couple of weeks, and he just has not helped himself. Really bad PR with the dad and the interview with Ian Wright. We said, did you see Ian Wright's face? Remember we were saying Ian Wright's face was like, what the heck is this guy on about? Like, he can't concentrate, and he has to have banter with the fans and all of that stuff. It's like, it's just, we don't need all of that, man. There's certain moments in certain players' careers when I look back and I'm like, that was your ticket out, mate. Like, for example, remember when there was a game, do you remember Torreira got subbed off and he was crying? Remember that one? Things like that. Like, he got...
That was Baku, weren't it?
Yeah, Baku,
I was crying at the same time.
You're allowed. You're allowed, James. No, but I do think, he may play the final Champions League game, PSV, if we get through versus Lens. But other than that, I can't see him coming back in. He's done too much damage to himself, his character, and what the media portrayal of himself that has kind of been going around that he's contributed to. Really bad people. Who the heck gave his dad permission to do that interview?
The thing is, he's done a couple. I think he's done a couple of shows on the Highbury squad, and obviously in those circumstances, he was number one, and things were kind of going well and stuff. So it's like the first one where he's not been in that situation. So I don't think Aaron Ramsdale didn't feel there was anything to worry about before. But this time round, I think there maybe should have been. You know what? Just leave it and just see how it goes until January. And if he leaves in January, then by all means, you can come out and you can have your chat and say what you want to say and everything. But it just made it a little bit more awkward, and everyone's eyes are on us again, on this situation. And the cameras are stuck on David Raya having a chocolate bar and stuff like that, and chilling out, because me and James was talking before, he's watched that first half and everything, probably seen Arteta's reaction to it and thinking, oh, I'm sorted. You know, I'm number one now. That's it. You know, there's nothing to worry about to a certain extent. But yeah, disappointed in that regards, and just a bit, you know, obviously going up to the goal, towards the end. It seems like we've had a lot of controller games, James, this season. And the next question is like, so defensively we are sound and we have a control of a lot of matches. You know, no roller coaster games yet as such. You know, nothing kind of crazy, which you experienced last season. You know, Liverpool, the United game, the Bournemouth game, of course. You know, has Arteta traded offensive fluidity for defensive solidity, or have the injuries been the reason because of that, or is it a combination of the both? Because you look at someone like Rice, who you know, that middle three, you know, these three. I mean, that's a brick. That's probably the soundest base you can ever have I think in the league, because a lot of times in the first half, Rice was just picking the ball up as the middle, you know, in the middle between Saliba and Gabriel. So that's just massive control there, because they're all sort of, to a certain extent, Gabriel, but they're all pretty comfortable on the ball, and they're physical to sort of withstand any press or physical side of things. But do you think it's a combination of the injuries as well? Would Timber have made a difference in that instance, in terms of us being a bit more creative going forward on that left hand side and supporting someone like Martinelli, who's still doing it on his own? Or do you just think we're just not, the players aren't ready, you know, up to speed yet? We're not sort of cooking to the extent that we were last season, James? What do you think it is? Do you think it's just Arteta's looking at it completely different this season, or is it sort of purposely done, or do you think the injuries have played a part as well?
I think it's a combination of everything, Mike. I obviously, like I said earlier, that preferred front four have only played with each other twice, so. Yeah. That you know, we always use the term cooking, but you know, you can't. They haven't had, you know, they've had microwave cooking, haven't they? Which, there's nothing wrong with putting things in the microwave. I microwave stuff normally nearly every day, but you want to get the pots and the pans out, and you know, you want to get your spice rack and everything, don't you? You don't just want to do something that's pre-made. So they're back now. So hopefully we will see an increase and a difference in it. But yeah, injuries always play a problem. And I think a lot of it as well, and I don't know if it's a management thing or if it's that they're a year older and they're a year wiser. Because last year it was just go, 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 go. And next to football, my favourite is obviously boxing in the UFC. And I've seen people that have gone in there and gone for hell for leather, throw in. And then next round comes in, oh my God, I'm huffing and puffing. I've used all of it. I've got nothing left. And then you get walloped. Well, now I quite like this calm and controlled sort of pace, in that we're not overexerting at the moment. And again, it's still very, very early. So we'll see how it goes. But I think, and I can't remember, I think Neil said it on the pod that I did this morning, but I think he also put it in the chat yesterday. There was the graphic, I think it come up on Match of the Day. Is it we're tied with Brighton with 10 sub goals? Yeah. So you know, the people that are coming in are doing a job, and I think as well, defensively, you've had an improvement because of Declan Rice. So he's been that influential. I mean, when you spend 105 million quid, you want him to be influential, but I think he's done even better than I expected him to do. And I don't want to get carried away, Mike, but watching him yesterday, I mean, I'm a big fan of the guy anyway. And watching him yesterday, I did think to myself, I have not seen somebody that's as defensively sound and switched on, but can also carry and contribute to an offensive game with his touching, with his passing, and that leadership since the great man, Mr. Patrick Vieira. And I'm like, that is the best compliment that I can give this person, because that is arguably, he's arguably the top 3 Arsenal players that I've ever seen in my lifetime that I've supported the club. So for only to be here less than even half a season, and I'm nearly comparing you to a man of that caliber, you are doing bloody well, son. So well played. But again, you say about Timber potentially being in there, and if he would have made a difference, I really do think he would, because it's normally the quiet ones that shock you. And there was nowhere near the plaudits and the fanfare for this guy compared to what there. And I look at how well he did in that. I know it's the Community Shield, but he was fantastic in that game for us. I thought he looked. I was like, bloody hell, you look like you're a real difference maker, mate. You're going to be so important to us. But I think the re-emergence of Tomiyasu and the fact that you can play him right back, centre back, and left back, that's helped us massively. But also, I think that has woken up Zinchenko, because against Chelsea, Sterling absolutely cooked him. He was terrible. But the last two games, Burnley and Brentford, I think defensively, he's showing sides to his game that I've never seen before. He made a mistake and he vacated his channel on the left-hand side to come across to the right to stop a goal off the line himself as well. And he never would have done that normally. And I don't know if that's because he knows Tomiyasu might get my place, or there's Timber in that. So he's woken up a bit more, which I like. But yeah, I think going back to answer your question solely, I think it's a combination of everything, mate.
Yeah, I definitely think him. It's a competition, isn't it, James? We've said it. You know, look what happened when Trossard came in January, and look what that did to Martinelli. We were worried, you know, Martinelli wasn't getting looking, and then all of a sudden he got back in, and then he just raised his levels. We're still kind of waiting for that competition on the right hand side with Saka, just to give him that little bit of fire under his backside, just to get him going again. You know, not because we're just slating him, but we just want him to go on to the next levels that we know. I mean, he's still getting numbers. You know, he's still getting assists, even though he's just working through games and everything. Dan, what do you think about that as well? Do you think there's a possibility of getting a little bit too predictable in certain cases? Are teams now looking at us, through different eyes, obviously compared to last season? I think James, you said on the Purely Arsenal podcast earlier, just caught it, where teams were looking at Arsenal thinking we're just vibing, we're just on a good run, and we could still take them out. But now they saw what we did last season. We kind of fell off towards the end, but teams are looking at us with a little bit more respect in the way they set up. Saka's getting doubled up. The same with Martinelli on the other side. Do you think that control has led to some predictability and a little bit not boring, but just almost too much, too much of a stranglehold on it? Or do you think, again, it's just down to one or two players just being off the boil a bit, maybe conserving energy a little bit, maybe looking at the games to come? Obviously, December is always a mad one with the games. But what's your thoughts on that as well, in terms of how we're controlling games at the moment? Ooh, I think you're on mute.
I do believe that teams believe they have a way of frustrating and stifling Arsenal, and we did see that last season in quite a few games where we just had no plan B or plan C. So I think this season, what Arteta and the coaches appear to have done is kind of been a bit more unpredictable in how we play. I think there's definitely more thought and control into how we move the ball around, and I think there's a bit more of a thought process rather than let's get the ball forward as quickly as we can. We seem to be a lot more patient now. And yes, that has meant that some games have been quite hard to watch, and we're just nicking the 1-0 here or there. And do you know what? I don't mind that, to be honest. I really don't mind that. I'd rather be just more defensively switched on rather than going gun-ho in attack, losing possession, and then succumbing to a bloody counter-attack. How many times did we see that last season? How many times did the teams get goals on the counter-attack and stuff like that? And how many times did we let individual errors and misplaced passes kind of mess us up? So yeah, I'm happy with how it's going. I do believe, though, that it is a kind of the result of some injuries as well, and some poor form as well. We've got some players that haven't fired yet. Saka's getting kicked left, right, and centre. But, he's getting special attention this season. But his numbers are still quite good. He's managing to find a way around that. I mean, Martinelli, he's had 1 or 2 good games, but he's not got going yet. And Jesus, we've spoken quite a bit about Jesus, Mikey. What do we do with Jesus? January, are we looking at Tony? Are we looking at someone to bring in and kind of give him competition, kind of kickstart kind of the second half of the season? I'd like to think so. I'd hope so, to be honest, because I think we do need, as me and you have said, we need a bit of a gunman, a man who knows how to pull the trigger and really hit the target. I was looking at Jesus' stats the other day, and he's shooting, and his conversion of chances didn't make the best reading, to be honest. So yeah, I think we're supporting some players through some bad form at the moment, and trying to just kind of build on the injuries we've got as well. But overall, I can't complain. We're top of the league. We're learning how to win games ugly, and we're learning how to mix it up. And having Declan, James, yes, you're right, mate. It's such a big impact. It's just like a Rolls Royce there in the middle of the park.
Yeah, massive. Because I mean, last season we were talking about the defence, weren't we? And we were just conceding too many goals. You can't be winning titles, but just conceding the goals that we were conceding. It was ridiculous. And we've got the best defence in the defensive record in the league. Another clean sheet away from home, especially another 1-0 win as well. Yeah. But I mean, in terms of solutions, we've got a couple of questions there, and I'll come back to you, Dan. Obviously, because we'll talk about this guy who came on, and amazing moment for him. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, hopefully this will be the situation or the moment that will kick him on." And a lot of people have said, "Well, Chelsea fans have been saying that for a long time after each goal that he kicks on, especially after the goal he scored in the Champions League final, and he kind of didn't." Yeah. But you kind of hope that it will kick things on for him. It was a great moment. But what was your plan B going forward? How would you use him going forward? Do you still use him at the left or right as Arteta's using, or do you just? It almost seemed yesterday that he kind of use him as a, auxiliary, sort of chucked him up there to get on the end of those crosses, and because those crosses were coming in before, but Trossard weren't getting on the end of them. Do you think that's the option now, James? You've got to do that until we get to January and maybe address that, or do you not? Because the second question, I'll let you come back to the first one in a minute. But what do we do in January? Can we afford to stand still? Will it be internal solutions? Would it be so Havertz maybe being as that, when Jesus isn't firing, put him up top? Saka as a left 8, maybe. Would the defensive midfielder be a priority? Would it be to bolster attack? Again, Tony, Neto, or Luiz as a defensive mid? So, what were your thoughts on the whole Havertz and Plan B and everything else? I know I've chucked 2 grenades at you, but I know you can handle it.
No, I'll like on the old Call of Duties when the grenades would come before they blow up, you got a chance to throw them back. So I'll try and see if I can pick them up and chuck them back, mate. The Havertz for me yesterday, I was very, very happy that it was him that got that goal. If there was one player I could have wished to get it, it would have been him. And I do hope it does kick him on. Am I going to say it is 100% going to kick him on? No, because like you've said, there's too much evidence from previous to show that he probably won't. However, I'm not going to completely write him off. And one thing I will say about him is that we've had 2 games. One was against Manchester City, and it was this one yesterday. Against Manchester City, he chested it and slid in Martinelli. Okay, it got a deflection, but he turned a 1 point into a 3 point there. And yesterday he scored that goal that turned a 1 point into a 3 point. So if he can keep doing stuff like that and get important moments, either be it assists or be it goals, then I'm not going to have a problem. Do I want more consistency? Of course I do. But, if he can pull moments like that, then I'm more than happy. I think he's probably the best at being a different option as a 9 instead of playing in the left 8. I think the demands of him in the left 8 is too much. I think if you say to him movement-wise, get in there and either chest it down and link man in, or get on something on the end of yourself, he can do that. But I think it's when you're asking him to run and link people in, and I don't think he's that player. He might have been years and years ago, but he's had too many managers now on a club level and an international level playing him as a night. I mean, we're all talking about Tomiyasu going away for the Asia Cup in Jan, and do we get a right back or a left back because we need? He's been playing left back for Germany, so don't be surprised if we don't chuck him. If there's not games where we chuck him in there, I hope not. By the way, but you never know. But yeah, I hope it does push him on, Mike, because you know I like my humble pie, mate. I'll eat it if it gets served. I'll eat it. So I'm more than happy. But yeah, I hope he does kick on. And do you know what? I don't know if I think he probably will stick Jesus back out there on Wednesday night just to get him back into form and maybe scoring. But I wouldn't mind this guy playing as the 9 on Wednesday night if Jesus is rested for the weekend.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind him going up top against Lens, and I think he'd do a good job. But then your second question, we can't afford to stand still, especially if it's as close as it is at the moment. And with the margins, I mean, January there's only the one game.
Yeah.
But there's just it's just everything after it, and there is definitely positions that we need to address. Internal solutions, I don't really see where there are, because in that Carabao Cup game against Brentford, he did play that Sago Junior, but in Arteta's whole tenure, whenever you see him bring a kid through, Brentford, Nwaneri, you can argue, but I think that was only done because we were desperate to get him to sign a contract.
To keep him, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So for me, there's not been another example of when Arteta has gone to the academy to bring somebody in. You know, there was so much talk in the summer about how Walters is so impressed, and he's impressed not only the management but the players that are there. Zinchenko spent the whole pre-season glowing about how good Walters is, but we've still never seen him yet. Saka as a left 8, I think, you know what I'm like with Saka, Michael. I think if you put gloves on him, he'd do a job in goal. He just seems to be good at everything, doesn't he? Even when he's not good, he still does something. So I've got no problem with him whatsoever. But I do agree with what you've said there, defensive midfielder being the priority. I feel that in terms of strikers, I don't think we're chucking the big money. I said it on this show. I don't think we're chucking the money on it this January. I think we're going to do it in the summer. And I think it will be Declan Rice levels of money, or even more than the Declan Rice level of money, that we're going to spend on an attacking player next summer. Defensive mid, I think, is the main priority. You've got El Neni and you've got Partey going, and touch wood, nothing happens to Declan Rice, because there's no one else that can replicate that. As much as I think Jorginho is good in spells, I don't want to see Jorginho start in nearly every game. Because on transition and on the counter, you've seen what can happen when you've got Jorginho. But yeah, like you've got the last 2 players there in Neto and Louise. I would bite your hand off for both of them right now, Michael, in January. I think they'd come in and do fantastically. I mean, Louise again today, he single-handedly saved my fantasy football with another assist. So I'm well happy, because people go on about him as a 6, but he scores goals and he sets goals up. So he's as good. He's another one that, like Rice, as much as I like him defensively, he contributes offensively as well. Yeah. And I don't know how much it's going to cost to get him from Villa, and I don't know if Villa want to sell him, but he's the ideal person for me for that position that I feel could be obtainable. And then Neto, you know what I'm like about, you're in that WhatsApp group chat with me. I've spoke about Neto for nearly 2 years. You guys are probably bored of it. Or I've converted you and now you're talking. I know Jack was always in there a little bit as well. But I've liked Neto for a very, very long time. And I just hope if he comes back from injury and keeps scoring, it will be good. It will be good.
It's going to, I mean, I think the Douglas Luiz one's going to be tough, because it'll come to you, Dan. Villa, we saw what they did today. They've beaten Tottenham. Winning the league in October. relegation form in November. You know, what can you say? So I had to stick that one in, and you know, so you know, they're 2 points behind us. You know, whatever you want to say, we've got to play them in a couple of games. That's going to be a tough one. They've got to play us as City in a couple of games' time.
You know what, Mike? That Villa game will be interesting as well, because that'll be the first away game that we've played this season where a team's actually going to match us and have a go. Because even Chelsea, they weren't brilliant against us. They just got a fluky pen and then a fluky cross shot. But I didn't see anything from them really that impressed me. But Villa, you know what Unai's like. He's going to be like, I want to have a go. They're not going to low block. They're going to play a game. So
it's very true.
I'm looking forward to that Villa game.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, it should be a good one. But what's your thoughts on the Havertz situation, Dan? Do you think he's going to be used? Should be used as a 9 now, or do you think, you know, as a quick question at the bottom, you know, in terms of internal solutions, do you think we need to invest in one of those positions in January to not be left behind? Because you kind of think everyone else maybe will be putting their feelers out for someone to get across the line, because it looks like it's going to be really tight this year. Liverpool obviously are up there as well. Villa look like they're going to be going deep. You'll probably put your money on them winning the Conference League, because you know what Unai is. You know, he's like, so they'll probably be deep in that with the games they've got to come. But what's your thoughts on that question, Dan? What do you think to that one?
Havertz, I think it's an ongoing experiment, really. I'm not sure if it's going to be the left 8 or the 9. Obviously, at the 9, we've got Jesus and Eddie. I think if it hasn't worked out with them two in a game, then Arteta has the ability to shift it around and shove him up top or bring him on late, which he did it against Brentford, and it paid off. But yeah, I don't know. I do think in January, you know, that we can't stand still. If we really want to make a really big push to try and win the title, we have to sign a couple of players. I agree with you, Mike. It might not be a striker in Jan. It's really hard to sign top strikers in January. And could we get someone like Tony in January? Maybe. I think Brentford would sell if the price is right. But who knows if Arsenal are actually looking at Tony? We don't know. We hope to. We hope that we are. From many of the media reports, we are. But we don't really know what Arteta and Eddie are thinking. But I would bite your hand off for Tony. But even more importantly than that, as James said, Douglas Luiz is a fantastic player, man. I really wanted him last time we were trying to get him, and Gerrard basically blocked us and made him sign a new contract, forced him.
We left it late though, to be honest, didn't we? We were messing about on deadline day, weren't we? We messed him about. He obviously he wanted to come, but we messed him about and messed Villa about. And I just think, sorry to cut in, but I just think if we did show intention of getting him, I think Villa will just make it really, really difficult for us, and they'll probably
we play him like the night before deadline day, and he scored the corner. It was like just keep him at the ground, don't let him leave. Just tell him you're not going.
I think it would. What was the fee then that was being mooted in the paper? How much was it? Do you remember?
I think it was about 25 to 30 mil, wasn't it?
Yeah, 25. I think. Yeah.
He signed
because obviously, like you said, he didn't have the contract, so it was cheaper.
It's going to be double. It's going to be triple that now to sign him, and he's played so well this season. You know, you're talking, and they're going to know what we paid for Rice as well. But I think also, you know, he's seen how we're playing. He knows that really, you know, when Rice and Odegaard are 2 automatic starters. So for him, he might be thinking, do I really want to go to Arsenal where I'm going to have to rotate a lot, or should I stay at Villa where I'm playing every game? Do you know what I mean? That's another.
I think he could. Yeah, I think he could come in and do the 6, and then that allows Arteta to do Rice at left 8, or you've got the double pivot like when you go to Liverpool away. You know, obviously playing Liverpool before the deadline before January, obviously. But when you go to City away, for example, and you've got them 2, you can go double pivot with those 2. So it gives him the option. I just think the difficult thing is where Villa are in the table. You know, they're in top 4, in the top 4. If they're in mid-table, it might be a different conversation. Or you maybe give them something like ESR in the equation, throw him into the equation, and change, because obviously, you and I will like him. Villa tried to get him a couple of seasons ago, didn't they? Offer like 20 million, and we told them to, what were they smoking and stuff like that. So, because obviously to replace, was it Grealish, wasn't it? They want him to do that. So that could be the way around it, but then you're kind of losing the player. But so go on. So so you think we have to do something?
Really, we have to. The last point I make is on Neto. He's a fantastic player. Wolves are my second team. It's my granddad's hometown, so I do follow them quite a lot. They always lose their best players to other teams, and I think it's only a matter of time before Neto is snapped up by a top team. But I just hope it's us. He's a fantastic player, really good.
Yeah, he's that competition for Saka, isn't he? And he's got that pace bit on the break, that stuff on the break. Could you imagine him on one side and Martinelli on the other side? If we're breaking against teams, you're talking, and the quality doesn't drop because we know he's Premier League proven and he can come in. So he gets over his injury, and he's another one, James, wasn't he? That we almost got over the line. We put a bid in a couple of seasons ago, and I remember the Athletic were doing mad articles on him and on his upbringing and everything like that, and getting the insight. And it looked like we're going to get this guy over the line, and obviously Wolves kind of said no, and that was it. But he would, for me.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, go on. No. I would say I would love us to get Tony, but I think, like you, I think we're gonna. Apparently, we're putting all the work in for Ferguson. That's what I've heard. We've had their people over. Yeah, we've had their people over to Arsenal and giving them hospitality and trying to work that deal, just kind of the same way we did Rice. So in that instance, if that's the case, I would love to see a Neto and Luiz or a defensive midfielder coming in January, and then whatever money do we get from maybe a possible sale from a keeper, if it's Ramsdale or whoever else, and then we put that towards.
I think that's the big thing, Mike, is that it's going to take someone going out for us to do anything.
Yeah.
And there's still massive stuff about Vieira being loaned to Marseille, and I do think that the indication after that red card from the manager was he was losing his patience with that guy. He looked so angry at him that happened, and he then went in the academy and he missed a penalty. And apparently he had, other than missing that penalty, apparently he had a dreadful game as well as missing that penalty. Yeah. So I'm like, when you've been punished and you're in the academy and you don't deliver for even the academy as well, that's going to get back. That's going to be fed back. And you know what? You know what Arteta's like. He's a cutthroat man. Once you're done with him, it's very rare you come back. Once you are done, you are done. And I don't know. I would love to. I would love to see Vieira, mate. I backed him quite a bit. I do think there is something there, but if he's gonna, if he's not delivering, then he's gonna go. And he is another one that maybe people will look at and think we can take him, and it clears the wages up to do something, because everyone's being fine-tooth combed now with FFP, aren't they? And that if there's one club that they'll love to find some irregularity with, it will be us. We can't even breathe without being yelled at. So, if there's something going awry and with us, they'll take more than 10 points off us. Trust me. Even if we made the offences this year, they'll strip us of the Invincibles. They'll strip us of 89, the doubles. They'll go, nah. Even if the offence was this year, they'll go back in time and take stuff away.
They
hate us that much.
I know, man. It's crazy. It's funny when you talk about cutthroat Mikel. I know there's a film out at the moment called Napoleon, and I'm just wondering if in 100 years' time there'll be a film called Mikel about how he just went around London.
I did think of him yesterday with the whole I don't need the good generals, I need lucky generals, because I was like, there was a nice bit of luck there yesterday.
Oh, mate. So just before we finish, obviously we've got Lons on midweek. We get a bit of revenge, hopefully, after that defeat there. Disappointing defeat. Again, we took the lead, kind of spurs it up. That's what they do, isn't it? At the moment, take the lead and they just lose the game. So we did that, a bit of that.
And they broke a record, didn't they? First team to ever have the 3 goals since 2014. First team to have 3 leading goals and then lose the game.
Amazing. What can you say, innit? You know?
Yeah. Well, like we said, you know, they've still always got that win against Liverpool with that offside goal that they can, you know, they can watch that back on the DVD be out at Christmas. So.
Yeah, he'll still get the manager of the month award, won't he? He'll still get it.
Oh yeah, somehow,
yeah, mate. So we've got obviously Lens, and hopefully we'll turn them over. And then we've got Wolves at the weekend with a manager who I rate, Gary O'Neill. I think he's a really good manager. He carries himself really well. Obviously, we know what happened last time he was there with Bournemouth, and the madness that happened there. And actually, I'll be going to that game. It's the first Arsenal game I've been to in years since I was let go by the club. So I'm looking forward to that, to go there as a fan and actually see what the stewards are doing and what the levels are like, if they're doing their jobs properly. See if I can sneak something in and see if they actually search me and do the job properly. But yeah, so we've got some games, some tricky games coming up, gents, and obviously the one that we're all kind of looking at, you can't help but look at it. It's obviously the Villa one and the Brighton one. I think Lewis Dunk is banned for 3 games, and I think he'll be back just before that one. He would have served his ban, but yeah, you guys kind of thinking we just have to try and be careful with the rotation now, because I don't think Odegaard looked 100% yesterday. I think he's got a hip problem, isn't he? James has said he's had a hip problem.
Yeah.
Didn't look 100%. Jesus didn't look 100%. Obviously, he came off as well. Obviously,
Eddie when he come on, I mean, not that we hold Eddie to a massive standard anyway, but oh my God.
No, he just usual falling over and giving away free kicks, and that chance he had when he should have squared it and stuff like that. It was just nonsense, isn't it? But let's hope we can see out. You know, it's a good November for once, and normally a bad one for us, isn't it? But we finish, finishing in the Premier League, top of the table, and hopefully all being going well. And obviously Arteta, again, we got a tip I hat to him: 200 games and 116 wins compared to Wenger's 111 and George Graham's 107 at this stage. So obviously they probably have a couple of the bits of silverware to show off, compared to his one. But no, good stuff from him, and let's hope he continues. But we'll leave it there. James and Daniel James, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Obviously, Daniel, I know you was a bit stuck, or probably the kids or whatever.
Yeah,
I know how you feel. But no, I appreciate your time. Thanks for everyone for supporting the channel. Thanks for all the retweets and the comments and everything. You really appreciate it. Obviously, it is. I do appreciate the time. I'll always say I always appreciate the time that you guys take out. To just chat Arsenal, especially when some of us have done it 3 or 4 times already in a day. And really appreciate
I'll never stop talking, Mike, so don't worry. I've always got something to say, mate. Even when we don't play, I'm still talking about us, so don't worry about it.
Oh, thank you, mate. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all the support. Obviously, you can catch us on obviously all Spotify, Acast, Anchor, and obviously you're going to upload this on YouTube for you to see. James, you can catch James on his YouTube channel, James Johnston's football channel. He drops Premier League review content, and as well as obviously Arsenal as well. Busy man, so obviously he kind of gets it out when you can, don't you, James? And obviously Daniel, you can catch Daniel on Twitter as at Charmer Music. So, gents, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. Enjoy your week. And I will see you all, hopefully, not this week, midweek, because we're going to have a break, but we'll have a chat on the after the Wolves game, because we'll be actually going there to see the Arsenal in the flesh. It's going to be pretty amazing. It's been such a long time. But thanks, gents. All the best, and come on, you guys.
Man, remember, Giroud into the box, and they have immediately.